Okay, today I want to look at something that I only actually learned about properly today. I had the title Hypocrites for quite a while because I kind of know the context in which Yeshua used the word. But as I was studying it today, it feels like to me like you slotted a big piece that I was missing into place, something that I hadn't understood before. When I say it feels like Yah has done it, I don't want to speak on his behalf or say what he has declared or anything like that. That's what it feels like to me, that he's done that. Because I've always had difficulty articulating exactly what my problem is with people who kind of, they take on the identity of Torah, like it's a costume that they wear, and it's been difficult for me to really get across what it is that I mean by that when people are kind of more interested in a Torah lifestyle than in actually the word of Yah. It's kind of like something that they put on. And it was when I was looking at this word, the Greek word for hypocrites, that I saw what it is that these people actually are, because the English word is somewhat misleading. What we think of when we think of a hypocrite or someone being hypocritical isn't really what the Greek word means. It's kind of, in a roundabout way, similar. You could say that it fits within the category of what the Greek word is describing, but not really, not precisely, not exactly. So we'll have a look at what a hypocrite really is. Now, when we think of a hypocrite, we're probably thinking something along this definition, characterized by behavior that contradicts what one claims to believe or feel. So that's kind of what we would say someone is doing when they're being hypocritical. But the word hypocrite and hypocrisy doesn't actually mean that. It's kind of how we have come to use it in everyday parlance, but it's not really what it means. It's a good example of what Charlie was talking about when he said about words that we assume the meaning of. But when you look at their precise definition, they actually mean something else. So this definition is what it has come to mean. So really, you may as well say that that's what it means, because language evolves and changes. But the original definition is this: the practice of claiming to have higher standards or more noble beliefs than is the case. So that's a more specific version of the first definition, I suppose. And so with this definition, when we see Yeshua addressing the Pharisees as hypocrites, we have it in English, we can kind of see that that is an okay translation. But if we look at the Greek word, okay, this is hypocrites. Hypocrites. When you see a Y when a Greek word is transliterated, that will be an U sound rather than an I or an E sound like we might have in English. So rather than hypocrites, you see that the word is very similar there, but it's hypocrites. I'm going to insert a Blue Letter Bible audio clip. I'll insert it now if all goes well.
Strong's G 5273. Hypocrites. Hypocrites.
Okay, so those little audio clips, they're available to you if you want to know how a Hebrew or Greek word is actually pronounced. go to blueletterbible.org. You can go to the verse, and you can look at all of the words, and it'll have a little speaker symbol next to the word, and you can actually listen to those pronunciations. That's quite useful. I use that quite a lot. In Matthew 6, 1-2, we see this hypocrites. Yeshua says, beware of doing your kind deeds before men in order to be seen by them. Otherwise, you have no reward from your Father in the heavens. Thus, when you do a kind deed, do not sound the trumpet before you as the hypocrites do, in the congregations, in the streets, to be praised by men. Truly I say to you, they have their reward. So if we go to the definition, you can see what the word actually means here. An actor, a stage player, dissembler, a pretender, a hypocrite, one who answers an interpreter. That's one of the meanings. The other meaning is an actor or a pretender. So basically it's somebody who is acting out a role. So when I think of people who kind of take on the Hebrew identity, they are people who are acting a role out. Often people will say to me, it's very difficult to find a fellowship because when you go, they're not really concerned with doing the word. And that's because they're all hypocrites. They're all actors. They know what that role should look like. So they're performing a role instead of being serious and being genuine and it coming from a genuine place. It's someone who's just putting on a costume and wearing it. So that's what Yeshua is addressing here. So don't sound the trumpet before you as the actors or the pretenders do, to be praised of men. This is something which will come up again. But the idea of the hypocrite or the actor, the one playing the role, is that they are motivated by what men will think of them, rather than thinking of oneself as an actor on the stage before God. They are performing a part to be seen of men. And so these sorts of people will be more interested in what men think. Like, say, people who come here, if they were more interested in what Charlie and I were going to think of an action that they did, rather than whether the action was right before God, that would be the sort of thing. Not that anyone who comes here is like that at all, but that would be an example of what I'm saying. So beware of doing your kind deeds before men in order to be seen by them. Otherwise you have no reward from your Father in the heavens. So if you're motivated by acting out a part before men, you obviously have no reward from the one who is actually witnessing your performance, so to speak. Psalm 66 verse 3 says, "Say to Elohim, how awesome are your works. Through the greatness of your power, your enemies pretend obedience to you." So this is what the hypocrites do. Okay, they pretend obedience. They act out the role that they think that they should be doing to be seen of men. But this is quite an amazing verse. It says, through the greatness of Elohim's power, his enemies pretend obedience to him. Okay, so they're acting a role before him. They know that he exists. They know that he is very powerful. But the thing is, they don't love him. They don't love his word. So they know what they should be doing, and they act that out. It's what Paul talks about when he talks about the works of the Torah. Okay, these people do not understand that they are saved by faith, or maybe they understand this intellectually, but they don't understand what it actually means. You're saved by faith. You're not saved by works of the Torah. If you're just an actor playing out the role of Torah keeper, which is what so many people are, that is not going to save you. It is your faith that will save you. Romans 5 verse 10 is a good reminder that we were once all God's enemies, but the thing is, some still are his enemies. So being enemies, we were restored to favor with Elohim through the death of his son. And that is by faith that we are restored to favor or grace with Elohim. Having been restored to favor, we shall be saved by his life. Okay, so we shall be saved by using him as the model for our behaviors, but not like we're an actor who's copying Yeshua, because we have faith and we understand the word is light and the word is life, because we understand the light when we see it, which the darkness doesn't. We're restored to favor, but some are still enemies of Yehovah because they're not doing it by faith, they're doing it by works. Psalm 81 verse 15 says, "Those who hate Yehovah pretend obedience to him, and their time of punishment be forever." So these people know that he exists, they know his power. The problem is they hate him. They don't love him. They don't love his word. So what they do is they act out the part. When you see people and you think these people are, they just don't get it, it's because they're acting out a part. Proverbs 26:24-27 says, "He who hates pretends with his lips and lays up deceit within him." So think of this as how Yehovah apprehends these actors. He who hates pretends with his lips, remembering those who hate Yehovah pretend obedience to him. So he who hates pretends with his lips, lays up deceit within him. Though he speaks kindly, do not believe him, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. Hatred is covered by deceit. His evil is disclosed in the assembly. Whoever digs a pit falls into it, and whoever rolls a stone, it turns back on him. So these people think that by acting out the role of Torah keeper, that they're going to be in a good position with Yehovah. But that is how Yehovah actually perceives their words, perceives their actions. Though he speaks kindly, do not believe him. It says there are 7 abominations in his heart. Now obviously Yehovah weighs the heart. He knows, okay, this is written to men. Yehovah knows the heart of people anyway, but hatred is covered by deceit. Those who hate Yehovah pretend obedience to him. They're hypocrites, they're actors, they're pretenders. So this will only get one so far. Okay, pretending with the lips, having deceit within you, speaking kindly, but having abominations in your heart. That only gets you so far, because it's not hard to get someone who is acting to break character when they feel it to be a serious enough situation. And the way Yehovah gets people to break character is by tests of faith. It's very difficult if you don't believe in Yehovah to act like you do, because he'll put you in a situation where doing his word you would think is going to be to your detriment. Like going in and telling your boss that you're not going to work on the Sabbath. Maybe you think, well, what's going to happen is I'm going to lose my job, and then I'm not going to be able to feed my family, and this and this and this. If you're just acting the part of Torah keeper, then you will break character in that moment, and you will break his word, because you'll think, oh, well, can't do that, because the actual trust, the actual belief in Yehovah isn't there. In Psalm 78, 32 to 37, it says, in spite of all this, they still sinned and did not believe in his wonders. So he ended their days in a breath and their years in trouble. When he slew them, they sought him, and they returned and did earnestly seek Ale. And they remembered that Elohim was their rock, and the Most High Ale their deliverance. And this is what people do when they are unfaithful. When something goes wrong, then they turn to Elohim. They return and they earnestly seek Elohim, because they need his help at that point when things are going really wrong in their lives. They remember Elohim, but they flattered him with their mouth, and they lied to him with their tongue, because they're hypocrites, they're actors, they're pretenders. For their heart was not steadfast with him, and they were not true to his covenant. So this is how people are. They flatter Elohim, they speak lies, they play the role thinking that that's what he wants. So they believe that he exists, they know his power, but they hate him. So what they do is they lie to him and they flatter him. Because, think about it, lying to Elohim, if you actually believe Elohim in what he says about himself, then you can't lie to him. The only person who could try to lie to Elohim and feign obedience to him when it's not really in their hearts to be obedient is somebody who doesn't believe him. Galatians 1:9-10 says, as we have said before, and now I say again, if anyone brings a good news or a gospel to you beside what you've received, let him be accursed. For do I now persuade men or Elohim, or do I seek to please men? Okay, that's what the hypocrites do, isn't it? For if I still please men, I should not be a servant of Messiah. So he's talking here about people bringing another gospel, as he says. Not that there is another gospel, but they will try to present something else as the gospel or as the good news. So what Paul is saying here is such people are trying to please men. They're hypocrites. They're actors. Okay? We'll see this more as we get into it. The next verse in Peter lays it out for us. It says, but there also came to be false prophets among the people, as also among you there shall be false teachers who shall secretly bring in destructive heresies. So directly, false teachers are compared with the false prophets, and deny the master who brought them, bringing swift destruction on themselves. And many shall follow their destructive ways, because of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. And in greed with fabricated words they shall use you for gain. From of old their judgment does not linger, and their destruction does not slumber. So we're warned that these people will bring in destructive heresies. Many people will believe them. People who are actors. You should be aware when you're listening to people, sometimes you'll hear somebody give a rousing speech about God and it'll really strike a chord within you. But a lot of such people are just actors. They know the right things to say and they put on a good performance. And many people will go after them with their fabricated words, with their lies. These people are hypocrites. And this makes me think of various people. But when I think of various people to whom it applies, I have to rein myself in and think, that's not what the word is for. Okay? Yes, the word will tell us when someone else is behaving badly, and we'll be able to identify good from evil by the word. But really, the word is to change oneself. Okay, so what we should be aware of is to what extent may these things be true of ourselves. Are there situations where we feel compelled to act out a role, to do something that is pleasing to men? This is something that I have been kind of very aware of, to watch out for within myself, to watch out for any deceit. If you'll see in Torah portion Hypocrites, when I did it in 2019 to 2020, so the video that will go up in 4 or 5 weeks, whatever it is, you'll see in that I speak about flattery, this kind of insincereness, and that all plays into what I'm talking about here. I really have an abhorrence for flattery and insincere people who are hypocrites. Psalm 49 verse 13 says, "The way of theirs is folly to them, yet their followers are pleased with their words." Okay, so be aware that people will amass to themselves many followers who are pleased with what they say, because it doesn't require anything of them. They tell them nice things about God. They tell them, oh, God loves you. God thinks you're brilliant. We see this spoken of by Isaiah. Isaiah 30:8-11 says, "And go write it before them on a tablet and inscribe it on a scroll, that it is for a latter day, a witness forever. That this is a rebellious people, lying children, children who refuse to hear the Torah of Yehovah, who say to the seers, do not see, and to the prophets, do not prophesy to us what is right. Speak to us what is smooth, prophesy deceits. Turn aside from the way, swerve from the path, cause the set-apart one of Israel to cease from before us." Now, what people do is, when they hear smooth things spoken by someone, what they do is they confuse speaking smooth things for having compassion. If someone has something in their life which isn't good, that they need to get rid of, when someone speaks smooth things to them, don't worry about it. God loves you. Continue on. God's grace abounds in your life, whatever it might be. They think that that is the person being compassionate to them. On the other hand, they think that an honest appraisal of where they're at before Yehovah is unloving, which of course it's not. To speak to someone honestly about where they are is a great kindness to them. It's not something that you just owe to everybody to give them an honest appraisal. It costs you something to speak honestly into somebody's life, but they confuse it as being unloving. If someone's in that position, they want the actors, they want the people who are going to speak great swelling words about Yehovah and make them feel brilliant. That's what they will like. And they are these sorts of people, rebellious people, lying children, people who refuse to hear the Torah. And they say, do not prophesy what is right. Speak to us what is smooth. Prophesy deceits. Turn aside from the way. So when such a person who speaks smooth things to them might well tell them, oh, don't worry about walking in the way. Worry more about your relationship with God and just putting one foot in front of the other. It's deceit. It completely evades the actual issue, and it will do the person absolutely no good. Proverbs 5:3-8 says, for the lips of a strange woman drip honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But in the end she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps lay hold of Sheol. She does not consider the path of life, her ways are unstable, you do not know it. So now listen to me, you children. Do not turn away from the words of my mouth. Keep your way far from her, and do not come near the door of her house. This is very strong language that's used there. Flee from such things. If, it makes you feel all warm and fuzzy in your heart to watch the actors acting, don't be deceived. Don't be drawn in by the actors. Keep your way far from them. Don't even come near to the door of the house of the strange woman with her smooth words and her flattery that will deceive you. Proverbs 6:23-28 says, for the command is a lamp, and the Torah is a light, and reproofs of discipline a way of life. To guard you against an evil woman from the flattering tongue of a strange woman. Do not desire her prettiness in your heart, neither let her captivate you with her eyelids. For because of a whore one is brought to a crust of bread, and an adulteress hunts a precious soul. Would a man take fire to his bosom, and his garments not be burnt? Would a man walk on hot coals, and his feet not be scorched? Why would you take these things in as, something that you might want to watch? Oh, somebody speaking in a really good way, performing a role. I like to watch that sort of thing. Don't be taken in by people who speak smoothly about God and don't ever challenge you on the subject. Would a man take fire to his bosom and his garments not be burned? No, of course not. Flee from such things. A little leaven leavens the whole lump. You start to go with a little bit of it, and eventually it proliferates in your life. Proverbs 7:1-5 says, my son, cherish my words and treasure up my commands with you. Cherish my commands and live, and my Torah is the apple of your eye. Bind them on your fingers, write them on the tablet of your heart. Say to wisdom, you are my sister, and call understanding a close friend. To guard you against the strange woman, against the foreigner who flatters with her words. If you cherish the word and you keep the actual words of Scripture with its discipline and its rebuke and its reproof, if you keep that close to you, then the strange woman is just going to seem like what she is, just like an actor, just like somebody who is speaking smooth things, speaking flattery. But it's important for us to identify these people and to not listen to them, not pay heed to them at all. Paul says, for we never came with a word of flattery, as you know, nor with a cloak for greed, Elohim is witness, nor were we looking again for the praise of men. So Paul talks about how they delivered the word to the Thessalonians. They didn't come with a word of flattery. They weren't seeking to please men. They came with the word of truth. Ezekiel 33:30-31 says, as for you, son of man, the children of your people are talking about you beside the walls and in the doors of the houses, and they speak to each other, each saying to his brother, please come and hear what the word is that comes from Yehovah. And they come to you as people do, and they sit before you as my people. And they hear your words, but they do not do them. For with their mouth they show much love, but their hearts pursue their greedy gain. These people are the actors. These people are the hypocrites. They're playing a role. One thing that I would counsel you against is treating God like a pick and mix selection. If you're the sort of person who's like, oh, I'll go and listen to the way when I want something that is serious, and then when I want, something that makes me feel warm and fuzzy, I'll go to X because I'm going to be told God loves you, you're great, and I'll go to X when I want the happy, clappy actors playing songs about Yehovah, treating the word as kind of like entertainment. Don't do that. That's not who Elohim is. And straying into those sort of areas just isn't advisable. Treating the word like entertainment, as I was talking about in the last video. Matthew 23:25-27 says, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, actors, pretenders, because you clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside they're filled with plunder and unrighteousness. So they clean the outside because that's what men can see, but inside they're filled with unrighteousness. Blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup and dish so that the outside of them becomes clean too. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, pretenders, because you are like whitewashed tombstones, which outwardly indeed look well, but inside are filled with dead men's bones and all uncleanness. If you're primarily concerned with pleasing men, then what you will do is you will change the outside so that you appear righteous, and you'll be like the scribes and the Pharisees who wanted to appear like the teachers of the Torah, the people who really know what they're talking about, and they wanted the accolades of men. But really, what will profit you is changing the inside and being an actor for Elohim, so that he sees you and all of your actions being done so that he sees what you do. But Yeshua is very explicit in what he says here. He says, look, you're actors. You are pretenders. Matthew 15:7-8 says, hypocrites, Isaiah rightly prophesied about you, saying, this people draw near to me with their mouth and respect me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. So he's saying you're actors. You are saying the right words. You're respecting me with your lips. You're saying the right thing. You're playing the part, but your heart isn't there. It's the outside of the cup which has been cleansed rather than the inside. I'll see you next week. Yah willing.